trying to live up to their example as mayor, as county executive, now in Congress. But I feel like right now is one of the most important times in our history because things are so broken with everybody fighting each other, because our state's in so much trouble. And my party, the Democrats, are not addressing the things that you guys talk about in your regular everyday lives. What do people talk about? Talk about crime and taxes. That's not a Republican issue. That's an issue that affects real people in their lives. So I feel really strongly that we have to do this, and we need you together. Okay? I'm very fortunate that I've got a great partner, someone who shares values with me. I also was a first-generation American. Her parents born in the Dominican Republic. She grew up in Brooklyn, been very involved in Brooklyn for years. And I'm so lucky to have her as my roommate. Let's hear it for Diana Reyna.
I really appreciate you taking this morning to be with us. It's not something that you had to do, it's something that you wanted to do. It was important to you to get to know who these candidates are. Many candidates are going to walk through the state and say a lot, right? But what Tom and I want you to understand is that we're speaking with you because we want to hear from you. This isn't about what Tom and I have lived or are seeing, but this is about what you have lived, all of us have lived and have heard and are sharing with one another. I'm the wife of a 25-year veteran in the New York City Police Department. We grew up in the same neighborhood of Williamsburg, not the Williamsburg you know today, but the one that Tom was describing in the 70s and 80s. We were born and raised in Williamsburg. We went to the same school, elementary school. We got to get to know each other more as adults once we were able to meet up with one another at a friend's wedding. And we have been together for 25 years, of which 20 we've been married. The opportunity to be able to raise two kids in Brooklyn, 14 and 16. I worry about them and I worry about my husband. This is a time that I never thought we would return to. When we were growing up, we had the highest per capita youth-on-youth violence. You had what would be murder rates of up to 1,700 for the year at the highest level in Brooklyn, in one precinct, our precinct. Organizations were formed to rebuild our communities when I was a child. Today, those organizations continue to exist, like my first Iverson Restoration, like Los Sures, like El Puente, who was the lifesaver for kids to be able to come into a safe environment rather than being recruited for gangs, to be able to do something productive and have a safe space to walk into and feel like somebody cared, help them with their after-school programming. These programs were lifelines. Today, we take them for granted, but when we were fighting for them to exist, they were hard to come by. Today, I spend a lot of time reflecting, how did we get here? There is something wrong when we see 300,000 people just last year alone leaving New York State. We have to ask ourselves why. How many of you know someone who left New York? Oh, that's almost the whole room. We have to start questioning. We have to start inspecting what we expect out of our government. $220 billion in this state budget, and what do we have to show for it? We have less after-school programming. When I was a city council member, we fought and advocated to preserve child care centers that provided services for children from ages 4 up to 6 school-age years. Today, they've restructured what would be because of a lack of funding and have aged down what is to 3-year-olds up to 5-year-olds. But we have our 6-year-olds and our 7-year-olds and our 8-year-olds that are returning to the days of latchkey kids. Do you remember what latchkey kids are?
Yeah.
They would wear their key around their neck, get home, and walk themselves into the house and pray to God that they were safe. These are the days where we have to start questioning where is $220 billion being spent. We don't need any more consultants telling us what we know are the problems. We just have to make sure that those dollars are directed to the actual service, not a referral system. The opportunity to be able to address public safety affects us all because we can't go to work safely. We can't go to school safely. We can't go to the supermarket safely. We can't eat with our children in a car without getting shot. I took a tour with Councilmember Rafael Salamanca yesterday in the morning in the Bronx. And he showed me what was a 5-block radius of what has been an infusion of funding to beautify the 3rd Avenue business district. And what he showed me was a beautification that has turned into a hub for drug dealers and drug users. No one gets to enjoy it. Our communities are terrorized because you can't necessarily say that that is an investment into community when you can't even sit down at a beautification green space to enjoy a beautiful Saturday morning. There are 30 methadone clinics and needle exchange